Robert Plank Show, episode 51. Rise above being a geek. Use this one little trick to shortcut years of trial and error in your internet marketing business. Welcome back to the Robert Plank Show. This is the online podcast where we talk about making money working from home and internet marketing. So my question to you today is, whatever project you have open, maybe a bunch of projects, maybe just pick one, pick the easiest one to complete, what would it take for you to, let's just say, complete or round out or get to the next milestone of that project today? And so this kind of came to my mind just now or this morning because without giving too much away, I'm working on a project. I really hate that word project because, well, a project means that you're just always tinkering away at something that the project seems like a term or a word where what you have is never quite done, right? It's always an ongoing kind of a venture. And so I was looking at this course that we're about to launch soon as I'm recording this, and I'm looking at the templates that I have, and I wanted to have a bunch of templates. I wanted to have, without giving too much away, 100 plug-and-play templates, let's just say for different kinds of websites. And I was looking at it, and I was thinking, well, I have two choices in front of me because I have, out of these 100 templates, I have about 30 of them complete and ready to go to sell. And I want to sell them all as a single collection. And I could spend the next couple of weeks eking along, getting to 40 to 50 to 60 templates done. And then in a couple of weeks, the idea is then go ahead and sell it. But in reality, what's going to happen is if I let myself go down that path, then in a couple of weeks, I'm going to just lose interest and get distracted by something, or some other emergency will come up, or some other fire to put out will happen, and then I'll end up just not selling that at all. And so what I'm going to do instead is the only way I can explain this is round out the things I have already there and put out this good enough sales letter, this good enough offer with these 30 templates. And I'll sell it as is, and then if I happen to have some time later on in the week, maybe I'll make it to 40 templates. And the funny thing is, the way I'm looking at this in the future is that will probably be good enough. And so, I mean, so many times when I come across people who, and we're talking about, customers and coach clients and things like that, if they have a website that's not done, there's usually a silly reason why the website's not done. And it might be that, well, I need to have a one-click upsell in place, or I need to have this special thing in my members area. And so my question to you is, well, is that really going to make a difference, right? Is having a one-click upsell versus a regular upsell or no upsell, is that really going to double your income? And is that worth delaying your income for X number of weeks? And it's never just delaying your income. It might even be just destroying all the potential income that thing might get. I know that it's probably like a cliche thing where it's easy for you to say that, well, whatever you have in place is probably enough, and I guarantee that you can round out whatever it is you have in place within the next 24 hours or less. And so that might mean that you have an ebook or a Kindle book, and maybe you plan on making it a 100-page Kindle book and you only got 10 pages completed. But what if you just put that out there right now at the moment? Just about anything that you do on the internet is undoable or revisable, which means that you can put up a sales letter, put up a membership site, put it on there as is, and if later on you want to add another bonus video or re-record a video or make one more 30-minute pass on your sales letter, you just go back and do that iteration. But I think it's a lot more helpful for me, at least psychologically, to have something that's ready for sale right now. Even if no one happens to see the web page, just think about this. If you had a web page and it had whatever product you're going to make, so let's just say that you're going to make an information product about selling on eBay, and you want to have this big 12-part course, but for now you only had time this week to make 3 parts, and maybe you just take the parts of the sales letter that promise those remaining modules 4 through 12 and just remove them. So you just round out the sales letter as it is, and now you have just those 3 modules of your eBay course. So now it's just, for the time being, a beginner eBay course. And so maybe you were planning on making that eBay course $100 or $97 or something once it was all done, but because it's only a fraction of that kind of training, well, maybe for now, maybe for today, it's only $17. And there's just, at least for me, there's something that's really psychologically powerful about having something that's in some form complete. And now all I have to do is just go back and update one thing if I feel like it. Okay. And so that is the whole thinking behind our course called incomemachine.com, because I mean nothing in your internet business will be perfect or has to be perfect or polished, and it's better if it's not. You notice how I'm recording this podcast just in one take. I'm not editing it. I'm not saying ums or ahs. Or have you heard of the thing where someone says, well, if you mess up on a recording, make sure to clap a bunch of times so that you can go back and edit out the claps. I mean, all that stuff is kind of silly, and editing out the ums and ahs and the claps and the clicks and having a slightly better audio setup is not going to double your income, so why bother? It's good enough. And so rise above being a geek, because what you say is not necessarily as important as the tools you use to say it. And this kind of gets infected to people's thinking in a lot of ways. And so years and years ago, I was at an internet marketing conference, and this guy was talking about how to create sales videos for your business. Okay, there's that again. And this phrase got stuck in my head, and maybe as a kid, or if you have kids, you've heard of this really popular book called If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. All right, and the plot of this book is basically, if you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want a glass of milk, and if he wants to drinks a glass of milk, well, he's going to want a napkin to wipe off his milk mustache. And so you're going to give him a napkin and wipe off his milk mustache. And then he's going to need to go get a mirror or stand in front of a mirror in order to make sure he's wiped the milk mustache off his face. Well, and then he stands in front of a mirror. He realizes he needs a haircut, so he needs scissors to do a haircut. And it's just this really silly kid story about how this little tiny thing just takes you off on all these paths. Next thing you know, I think he's like sleeping in your house and moving in with you and all this crazy stuff. And it all started from giving a mouse a cookie. And so this guy was on stage teaching video sales letters. And sounds great. And he was like, I'm going to show you how to make something and just whip it out in 5 minutes. And that way, this big long thing that used to think was a difficult process called making a sales letter, used to think that took you 3 months. Or if you were fast, took you a week. Now it'll take you 5 minutes. Cool, I'm really interested. And that's a thing called a promise, right? And if you think about it, everything you create, if you make a blog post, podcast, product, whatever, if you know what the end game is, then you know when you'll get there. And it really makes it easy to have this thing called a promise and have the hook and all these different things so that you can make it interesting without even having to try. Like the interestingness of it, if that's a word, is kind of baked in. So I'm like, great, 5-minute sales letter, I'm interested. Well, about 90 minutes later, he's still talking about the audio setup you're making, right? And so that's something, is that I could say, well, here's how to make a thing called a video sales letter on a website. And I can say, here's a list of 10 things, right? You figure out this in your headline, you figure out these proof elements, you figure out this is going to go for that, you're going to figure out the stat, cool, it's done, and then record it in 5 minutes. That's all I wanted to see. But then when you say, well, okay, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need a computer. All right, you probably already have a computer. You're going to need Windows. Well, if you're on a Mac, you're going to need to install this. Once you get Windows, you're going to need to install PowerPoint, which is part of Microsoft Office. And if you can't afford that, you can get a thing called OpenOffice, or you can use Google Docs because they have a PowerPoint kind of clone. And then they say, well, and then you're going to want to get some screen recording software. And I use Camtasia, but if you can't afford that, then you can use this thing called Cam Studio. And then it gets on and on and all these different things. And so 90 minutes later, he's talking about where you have to get a boom mic, and you need to get a pop screen, and you need to get this size of bolts, and you need to use and put these 3 bolts onto your desk. And I'm thinking, I've lost interest a long time ago. You told me this was a 5-minute thing, and next thing I know, now I'm paying $3,000, and I'm trying to figure out how to bolt things onto this and that. And the sad fact is that, well, you've built up these things, or you are building up these things called a list and a sales letter and products and things like that. And you're going to be putting out membership sites and information products and ebooks and Kindle books. And some are going to be big hits and some are going to be big misses. And the big hits are always the ones that you don't expect and the ones that you just think like, that's so simple. Why would anyone want that? But it's so simple. And it's easy to get too close to it and become too much of a geek. And I'm not just talking about a computer geek. You could be an audio geek. You could be a copywriting geek. You could be a photography geek, where next thing you know, you're actually talking people out of a sale, right? Because I was interested in hearing about video sales letters, and you got on stage with the end game of being to sell me on a product about how to make a 5-minute video sales letter. But you got caught up in teaching me all these things. And so in stage presentations and in webinars, there's a thing called a confusion close, or teach long distance, sell the calculator. And it sounds evil, but it's not if you do it right. Okay, and so me and my business partner Lance Tomashiro, I mention him on every podcast. We run a live event every now and then, not really regularly. We've done it where sometimes we run an event once a year or twice a year, and we get a room filled with people, and and basically the people in this room, they've bought most of the things that we have for sale, right? The majority of our products. And so what we do is we have a few topics, and a lot of the times they are things where they've been working well for us for years and there's a new twist on them. There are some things where there's like some new area where we're just still filling it out and it's kind of the cutting edge. Like we might show, like podcasting when we first started our podcast, but we didn't yet have a podcasting course. Now we do. It's at podcastcrusher.com. We would show how we sell products on Amazon, how to ship physical products into Amazon. At the time, we didn't have a physical Amazon course. Now we do. It's at dropshipceo.com. But we would test out our material the same way a comedian might go around the country and test out the same, 30 or 100 jokes and see which ones get laughs and which ones don't. But in this scenario, we're showing this stuff about how to sell a product on Amazon and showing the step by step, but then based on the audience's reaction, we know what parts to skip and what parts to pay the most attention to. So when we're saying, well, I want to show you how to make this thing called a 5-minute video sales letter, let me just put myself into the mind of an attendee if you are speaking at that kind of conference and just give you a couple of bullet points of what I want to see, right? If you're talking to me about a video sales letter, well, I do want to know what that is because I might have a different picture in my mind of what you have, but don't spend too long on it and don't spend too much time talking about H.264 encoding or about interlacing or about bit rates. If you want to talk about bit rates, great. Say it's boom, it's this, it's boom, it's that. Now we're done. You don't got to talk to me about the or. So that's the first thing I want to tell you about. With your presentations and a bit rise above being a geek is avoid or as much as possible. Or means when I say what microphone should I use to record my video sales letter, don't give me a list of 5 of them. Tell me the one that you personally use. And so in the same way, this is what's really frustrating when it comes to people teaching, say, for example, WordPress or membership sites. And they say, well, you got to use this thing called WordPress to have a blog and register yourname.com if you can and post some content every now and then. And they say, great. What WordPress theme? What should I use for the design of my WordPress site? And they say, well, you can go to this theme creator, that theme creator, that theme creator, and I'm left more confused than I was before. Now I've given a mouse a cookie. I asked one question, and now I'm off in a billion different tangents. Then they say, well, you should also have this thing called a membership site. Great. Which membership plugin do you use? Well, I use this such and such one, but you don't want to use that one. You want to use this one or this one or this one. No, just tell me the one that you use. And so that's why in our Podcast Crusher course or in our Make a Product course, we say just use this one piece of software and you can get fancy later if you want to, if you think you're smarter than me, but you bought this course on how to podcast. I'm not going to give you 5 choices of headsets. I'm not going to give you 5 choices of software to edit. I'm not going to give you 5 different places to host it. Here's just the one solution to do it. I'm going to say, here's this $30 headset. Here's the exact one I use. Here's the exact link to use it. I use this software to record my audio. Here's the exact link to do that. So can you give me just one solution? Don't list 10 websites to get WordPress themes. Tell me the exact one that you use. So that's the first thing when it comes to rising above being a geek. And the second thing is tell me what to do with it. And there's a difference between how to make something and what you can do with it. So going back to that example of you're showing me how to make this thing called the video sales letter. Well, show me what you do with it. Show me this thing called a before and after. Show me a website where it wasn't converting that well, and you went and you looked at the pieces, the elements in it, and you whipped up a quick video, and there you go. Now it has the same, like you found the diamonds in the rough, and it made more sales, and it was easier because you did it all in 5 minutes instead of having to write 5 pages. So this ties back to, if you're clear about what that end goal is, which in this case is to have a video sales letter created in 5 minutes, well, then that avoids you filling up time just for the sake of it. That avoids you talking about headsets and bit rates, and you think you're being thorough, but you're really leading people astray. And so there is something to the teach long division, sell the calculator, which means I will give a presentation on the exact steps we take to set up a WordPress blog. And at the end, I'll pitch our backup creator plugin and say, boom, you hit this button, and now you can restore a clone of an existing WordPress site. I'll take you through the steps we take to record and publish a podcast, or I'll say, well, now here's the course where I sell you the whole checklist. So think about that. What's the end goal, and what are you leading to get them to that end point? Okay, so that's the second thing, is what is the goal leading to? The first thing was avoid or. The second thing is lead them to that goal. So the third thing is to have like a superhuman promise, a superhuman demonstration. And when I keep going back to this example of you take a thing that normally takes months and months or a whole lifetime to figure out, and if you can compress it into 5 minutes or at 10 minutes at the most, that's huge. Now, why 5 or 10 minutes? Because of people's short attention spans. Because I'm assuming that you, well, no, actually, I'm not assuming. You will do this. Whatever it is you have for sale, you need to have multiple versions of it in multiple formats. So here's what I mean, is that, have you heard of this thing called a webinar? Well, if not, go to webinarcrusher.com, and this is a way for you to basically live stream your voice in your desktop to as many people as you want. And we're not talking about something goofy like a Google Hangout on a webcam. I'm talking about you show your exact computer screen and you click around and you get something really cool done. So I mean, what if, and I don't know if this is possible, but just think for a second, what if you were to sell your course on eBay and you said, I'm going to take something and put it on eBay and make a sale in 5 minutes. Or I'm going to take something that I bought for $100 and sell it in 5 minutes for $200. Now, I don't know if that's possible, but maybe dial it back slightly and think in those terms of something that no one else can do but you, because it's superhuman. And so if I'm talking about, in my case, I might set up a WordPress site with a bunch of cool stuff in 5 minutes, and I'll say, look at this crazy site with all these doodads, and I'm going to have a real site going in 5 minutes. I'm not sure if you can, make just a quick sale in 5 minutes of an information product or something like that. But, what if we said video sales letter, right? Going back to that example. And this is something you can actually do. What if you sold a course on a video sales letter and you said, I'm going to go this and do this live from start to finish, click around really fast, and do this all in 5 minutes. Put together a PowerPoint presentation, click the record button, and record it. Just that on its own has some superhuman value that most people can't do. Most people, they promise they can do something in 5 minutes. Next thing you know, 90 minutes later, they're still talking about what microphone to bolt to the screen. And then you realize, well, you got so tired out that they never actually showed you how to do it, but you were so tired you didn't notice it. So some kind of superhuman promise you can deliver on in 5 or 10 minutes. And then finally, the easy button. Number 4, to rise above being a geek, what can you lay out for someone that is just a no-brainer, no work, easy button? The sad reality is that it doesn't even matter what niche, is that most people would rather not do any work, because it's like, well, I was going to do it the really hard way anyway. Now you're telling me I have to pay you money just to do it the kind of hard way. So this part's up to you, and this goes back to creating a killer offer. But if you think about it, well, let's say that, and this is up to you, but if you were selling your course on video sales letters, what if you said, I will create and record your first 5-minute video sales letter for you, or that you'll critique their 5-minute sales letter for you, or that if they make their 5-minute video sales letter, then you'll go and you'll record a split test, or you'll look at it and you'll maybe improve a couple things and you'll record your version of it. So that might actually help out some people with their fears and their frustrations, where they might say, well, I've heard about this thing called the video sales letter, but I don't want to hire an expensive person to do it, and they're not going to do it the way I want it to. But I also don't want to record it with my voice because I don't like my voice. You say, well, great, just record it as is with your voice exactly the way you'd want it. And what I'll do is I'll take your original PowerPoint, your original video, and I'll record my voice over it. So now you have the thing you wanted, but then spoken by me. That's the easy button. And this is, again, one of those things where you need to let yourself complete the thought. Okay? And here's what I mean. Is when I say, what if you sold a $97 course on how to record a video sales letter for your online business? And then I said, for $97, you will also record a 5-minute video sales letter for them. The average person, I tell something like to, says, well, forget it, because if I get 20 sales, then I'm going to have to do 20 times 5 minutes of work. I'm going to have to do 100 minutes of work. And my answer to that is there's a couple things to that, right? If you make 20 sales at $100, well, guess what? You've made $2,000. The other thing about that is that I estimate, and this is just me, but I estimate that only 10% of your customers will actually take you up on you recording your video sales letter. The other thing about this is that you can add in a couple of hoops to jump through. And what I mean by hoops to jump through, I mean not in a bad way, but I mean if you tell someone, well, if you want me to record your video sales letter, I'm going to need a list of these 10 things from you, right? I'm going to need to know, and even make it to the point where you have them tell you what to put on each slide, right? You say, well, I need a screenshot of this proof, I need a headline saying this, and then you just put together the PowerPoint really quick in almost a checklist kind of fashion, where that they give you this list of 10 inputs, and you put it all into your PowerPoint, and you record your one video, and then that's your one output. So if you say, well, I'm going to make my 20 sales, again, by my estimates, just based on what I know and what I eyeball, only 2 people are going to be actually to the point where they want you to record the video sales letter, and they've actually filled out the proper 10 things. Okay, so now you've got 10 minutes of work for $2,000. Boo-hoo! Go ahead and do it. Okay, and the other thing about this too is that the people who, I don't know, whenever I hear this kind of resistance, it's usually someone who tells me they're hard up for money and they don't want to trade dollars for hours where you're not. Because, I mean, trading dollars for hours is like if you're being paid on an hourly rate or being paid per video. But this is just something where if you sell this $100 course, you can make a handful of sales. And if someone takes you up on it, and it's a big if because it's not guaranteed. If someone pays you money for your video sales letter course, they've already gotten what they paid for. And some of them will take you up on this extra video you record and some won't. But when you do these extra above and beyond types of things, then this is a chance to get a customer for life and sell them on something else and all this good stuff. And well, guess what? If you end up being flooded with so many sales of your video sales letter course and you're just so swamped with all these video sales that you have to create, well then now it's time to outsource it. Now it's a good problem to have. So if you make your $100 sales, well, what if you increase the price to $120 and then took that $20 and then hired someone on a site like Fiverr or on Odesk, and you said, based on these 10 things that they've given me, take them through this step-by-step checklist. Open up a PowerPoint program and put this in this slide, put this in that slide, and hit the record button, and then get that made. And maybe you might have them make a step where maybe they hire a professional voiceover for $5 for someone else or something, but you can make your little system, your little machine, where you get a certain set of inputs, and then they go over into the outputs, if that makes sense. So as we're winding down, a couple things about creating like a cool membership site or a cool product or a cool offer is, I don't even know what else to call this, but checklist marketing. So we've been talking about, well, getting someone to the end point, right? So you sell this course on how to create a video sales letter. And you say, well, what I want at the end is for you to have this powerful sales letter that does this and this and this and this. Okay? And so if you think about it, there is a series of steps that someone's going to take from having nothing to being at that end point of that video sales letter. And so I want you to do And the only way I've realized how to lay this out is to make them a series of questions, and usually the questions start with, "Did you do this yet?" Okay, so for example, we're talking about the end goal is a video sales letter. The start is that they have nothing, so the first 10 questions maybe might be just equipment based, right? So we'll say, do you have this exact headset? That's question number one. Question number two is, do you have presentation software, PowerPoint? Question number three is, do you have this recording software, Camtasia? Question number four might be, do you have a quiet room to record in? And so on. So then then maybe question number four might be like, have you resized your monitor or set your settings or something? It's up to you. But then you have that group of questions that's just based on the equipment. Then you have a group of questions that might be based on the the setup or the preparation. And you say, okay, well, have you figured out what's the headline, right? Have you figured out what offer you're going to be promoting, and you leave a little space for them to type in a URL, a web address for what offer they are promoting. And then you say, now, are you like, I don't know, what are you going to lay out in the stack for this offer? And then you have these different questions, and once they've answered all 10 of those questions, and answering the question could be a couple things. It could be like a free form answer, like what's the URL or what's this headline. It could be a multiple choice answer, like is it this or that? Like, are you going to have a how-to headline or a what-if headline, something like that? Or it could just be a check box that's just, did you do this? Did you install Camtasia? Just check the box. There's nothing to really answer there. And so the tool that I can give you to make this possible for you, to put this right there in your membership site and make this course pop, even if it's a $10 one-time payment membership site, is a plugin called WPNotepad.com. And this runs on any WordPress-based membership site, whether we're talking about Member Genius, Wishlist Member, S2 Member, Digital Access Pass, whatever. And this allows you to make these, this is all built into the plugin, either a list of checkboxes or a list of like fill in the blank kind of things, or answering these questions. And of course you can combine all those different things. And I kind of broke my own rule just now by saying the word or, but you get what I mean, is that you make this list of, and I mean, just to start off, just make it going full circle, make it a list of 30 things, okay? Just think of 30 questions. And I know that might seem like a lot, but once you start writing a few, it'll be really easy. And some of them can be really easy gimme questions, like, do you have this tool? Do you have this thing ready? And so 30 questions where if someone answered all of them, and whether the answer to that is either actually typing in an exact answer like a headline or checking a box, if they answered those 30 things, then now they're at your endpoint. Keeping in mind, just put out the 30-point checklist today, and then later on a rainy day you can make it 35 points or 40 points, but you got to round it out. And don't let you creating this bonus checklist in your course prevent you from getting to where you want to go. Okay, and so this applies to anything. If you teach a course on selling on eBay, well, then the checklist asks things like, do you have an eBay account? Have you verified your account? Do you have a PayPal account? Do you have, I don't know, a PO box if you need one? Do you have a business entity if you need one? Do you have shipping boxes? And then there you go, boom, that's the first section of that selling on eBay course. And then have you identified this and this and this criteria, or these items you might want to buy on eBay for resale later? Have you searched these misspellings of this name to get a listing on eBay that someone misspelled so that no one else will see it? So now you can buy it and then relist it under the correct spelling and make a profit. Whatever it is that you're going to create. If you're making the video sales letter course, like we said, you can say, have you installed this software? Have you prepared? Have you recorded? If there's any kind of editing? And the cool thing about WP Notepad, and I'm reluctant to share this, but I will anyway because we're buddies, because you're listening to this podcast, you can spy on your members. You can pull up a whole screen, and you can see what checkbox people have clicked on. You can see what parts of the forms they filled out. You can see how far they are along, which is really powerful for you because you can see where people are getting stuck in your course. And so this way you can actually focus on getting people to complete instead of you geeking out on all these little details that actually not only do they not matter, and not only are you the only one who really cares about them, but they will actually discourage someone from completing things or even from buying from you if you focus too much on the geeky little technical details. If you focus too much on these 50 WordPress themes you could choose from, or on the exact encoding of your audio microphone, you want to get them to that end point. So there's two places to worry about. There's a problem of being too geeky, too advanced, but on the other hand, as we're winding down today, no one wants to buy a course about, say, internet marketing basics. No one wants a course about eBay basics, okay? So this is kind of the other extreme. This is being an anti-geek, and the answer is because we want to make it exciting and focus more on the results and what I can do with an atomic bomb, not how do I build an atomic bomb, right? If you know the difference. You don't, I mean, just to kind of use a dramatic example here, no one cares about how to build an A-bomb, they care about what they can do with the A-bomb. No one cares about all the ins and outs of making a podcast, but once I put out the podcast, now I'll get all these different subscribers to my websites. Making a video sales letter, that sounds like a lot of work, but once I create it, now the sales letter's done, now I make all these sales, now I have all these other things that I can create. So avoid internet marketing basics because basics sounds like you're giving me the intro or the outline, or that you're really not going to give me any kind of a result. And so you can make it something exciting like our course on, I guess you could call it internet marketing basics, but it's for basic people or for advanced people. It's called Income Machine. So Income Machine, the end goal of that is that once you're done, you have all these pieces in place. Blog, sales letter, opt-in page, autoresponder sequence, traffic, membership site, all these cool things. So it's not just about basics, it's about learning the terminology, but about once you're done having all these things in place. So if you have all these things in place, great, you don't need our course, or maybe you need a better version of that. But if you don't have all those things in place, if you don't have all the traffic you'd ever want, if you don't have a blog with all the content you'd ever want, if you don't have a member site with all the paid members you'd ever want, then you got to join our course at incomemachine.com. And then finally, I guess let's make this number 5 of rising above being a geek, is have a case study, okay? And so here's what I mean, is if I have a course about how to make your podcast, podcastcrusher.com, I'm going to actually create a podcast in that course. And we actually do. We set up a podcast called The Lance Tomashiro Show. So think about that. Is I could easily just be lazy, and I could easily say, oh, well, you know, podcasting started in this year, and you can use this recording equipment, and here's the website. Okay, cool, bye, you're done. It's like, well, you didn't really show me anything. And even though it seems simple to you, it helps so much to say, well, here are the steps we're going to create. Here's the checklist for you right here. And what I will do now is I will go and switch over into demo mode, and I will actually create a real live podcast. And I'll actually go through the steps we just talked about, and I'll click on this, and I'll record that, and I'll upload this, and I'll do all this. And then once we're done, well, cool, now we have the podcast done. And let me go back to the checklist and see, we did this, we did this, we did this, we did this. And there's something really, really helpful about telling people exactly what you're about to do, and then do exactly that, but in a real case study, not a test site, but in a real case study, and then you go back and say, here's back into the checklist so that now you can apply it. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody show me how to create a WordPress blog. And they say, well, we're going to click on this, click on that, okay, I'm with you. Oh, for the name of my new WordPress site, let's just call it test site. Okay, that's on there. Now we're going to make a new post on our site. Let's just call it test post, and let's just write in the post, this is some text. Well, that doesn't help me. And it would only take you a little bit more energy to say, okay, now I'm going to make a WordPress site, and I'm going to call it Robert Plank's blog. And what I'll do now, is I'll go and I'll grab 3 YouTube videos and 3 easy articles and maybe 3 press releases, and I'll go and publish them on my blog, and I'll backdate a couple, and I'll publish a couple, and I'll future date a couple, and then now here are the steps I took, right? I installed a blog, I went to these websites, I clicked on add new post, and I did that, but I'm actually showing you it actually done in person and not just test site. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to know the latest and greatest happenings with, say, Facebook ads. So when you log into a site like Facebook, which the majority of the Earth population do every day, this is a really popular site, and on the sidebar, there are these little dinky advertisements. And some of them make money and some of them don't. Some of them get seen, some of them don't. And someone can tell me what you want to do is go to Facebook and you want to click on this and click on that and create an ad in these sizes and create a headline that says this and create text that says that. And then when you're narrowing the audience, click this and this and this. And I can say, great, that's a good checklist. Now when you show me it in reality, it'll make actual sense. But then they show me and they say, we're just going to say, new test ad, and for the text in the ad, we'll say test, test, test. And I'm just like, no, show me a real thing. If you really set up Facebook ads every single day, then just hit the record button for today, and it'll make sense because I've already seen the checklist. You can tell me, here's the checklist you're about to go through. You show me that thing, and then you go back and show the checklist again. So rise above being a geek. Avoid the or, because that just confuses people. Have a goal you're leading to at the end, so that way you know when you're at the end, and that way you're actually showing me what I can do with something as opposed to how to create it. It's okay to chase long division and sell the calculator, but you want to have that 5 or 10 minute demo where you do something really cool and really superhuman. That's the third step there in rising above being a geek, is show something quickly, superhumanly, that most people can't do. If you can make even a single sale live on a 5-minute call, if you can set up a website, make a video, list a real estate property, even make quick money on stock market trading, just a quick 5-minute video to hold people's attention, that is huge right there. As long as you also make it the easy button. And I think that if you can show something really huge and cool in 5 or 10 minutes, the easy button part is kind of built in because, 5 or 10 minutes is not that much time. It's hard to show something with a huge result unless you had just a button to click and make it happen. And then when you click that button, it helps to have a case study, both when you're pitching a product and when you're actually showing it, especially if this case study can show the before and after, because if it has before and after, that is huge when it comes to your magic trick, your demo, selling on webinars, whatever it is, because there's a clear distinction between not having this thing that I want you to buy and having this thing I want you to buy. And if you can show me, if this thing you're selling me costs $100, and you show me how to make a video sales letter in 5 minutes and that's worth $1,000, well then fine, I'll pay $100 to get something that's worth $1,000 all freaking day long. So rise above being a geek, avoid the or, lead to an end goal, show something superhuman, have the easy button and a real case study, and I'm sure that you'll do great in whatever it is that you're doing. I'm Robert Plank from The Robert Plank Show. We talked about rise above being a geek. Use this one little trick to shortcut years of trial and error in your internet marketing business. Have a great day. Thanks for listening, and talk to you soon.